Okay, I'm looking at a comment that is convoluted, and some people have said it was racist. I don't think it is intended to be, and I don't see racism in there. Things were talked about race, not in a racist way, but they were talked about the problems within social constructs in the video debate hub. A feminist come on, and a real feminist, actually, Bonky, comes across very grounded, realist, interesting, amicable, and I liked it. It was. I haven't seen the whole video. That is some of the way through, but early on, the transcript with Chesh and Bonky talks a little bit about race as well, and where we go. Let me see. Look for timestamp. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on, bear with me. Find. Yeah, about 9 minutes in or so, talking about extreme white, right wing extreme white. That's you can only can wrap my mind around this mentality is that when you are raised, and we all have been raised in every single one of us has been raised in a highly misogynistic and racist and classist society. Absolutely. I saw the comment before I went through the whole video. There's something to be said here, whether this is happening or not, and this is not to diss anyone. This is a very natural thing that we do as human beings. Is something I want to look into a little bit is the science of making first impression, or information filtered through with how we start with things as well. We remember more context of the start of things, a body of information. The first start of it will be remembered in more detail accuracy, and the end in more accuracy than the middle. It's something that happens. It's something we do. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's because you get so far and you assume what the middle. When you are paying attention, you assume that what the middle context is going to be about anyway. So you're not paying as much attention as the early set of information being presented, and you know when you're going towards the end, you're looking pay more attention for conclusions here and there. One of the reasons, that's one of the variables. I think there's other variables here, but if I think 9 times you could pick 9 people, only 1 in 9 would probably say I was racist if they saw the comment first and only later then saw the video. But the people who did the video talked about race first and then saw the comment. This doesn't mean that you're going to interpret everything that people say about the video as racist. There's a number of ways in which it can be interpreted because the initial sort of information, as well as the way this is worded. This is so open-ended, so loose end. I have a saying, it was like tying up some loose ends. I hate loose ends, and reading this, it's just weird, and it's all open-ended. The first sentence reads like a question, but there's no question mark, but it leaves like a weird question anyway, and it's just bizarre how this is put out. So let me fire up Discord, because it was posted on Discord. So let me have a look at this. And I can't. They talk about this woman, Rosa Parks, not dissing Rosa Parks. I think they were an advocate of what Rosa Parks was trying to do. Rosa Parks was a civil rights activist and against. There was a bus, and they wanted to boycott a bus service because the bus driver was dictating that black people of color should give their seats up for people who are white. Ridiculous, right? Absolutely disgusting. And I think they're talking about that as in support of Rosa Parks, but felt like it didn't matter how many times people raised those issues, they were either metaphorically thrown under the bus or put at the back anyway. So it's actually against racism from that perspective. Let's start from the start of this anyway. In the wake of 2 world wars, literally after literally millions of men died. Well, millions of women died as well. And we'll show a few more numbers in a bit about what's going on with what went on with, as far as the UK was concerned, how many women were involved. So, did the politicians that were looking for an edge to a majority start to exclusively pander to ladies? And there's no question mark there. It's just a weird way it's worded as well. So, did the politicians that were looking for an edge to a majority? To me, the majority would have been everybody, the citizens, rather than somebody about just the average Joe trying to make ends meet. Nobody in politics or in position of authority. Did that majority, those politicians, look for an edge to start exclusively pandering to ladies? They're talking about thousands, millions of men dying, and I think they have a unrealistic, imaginary rather than factual assumption of how many men there to women there were in what ratio. Men were very greatly diminished, and there was plenty of women everywhere to encourage them and pander to them. They're using the word pander, and it's the wrong word to use if that's their point. It's like, I would say, encourage women to get involved in certain things for progress, and maybe politics and other things and positions of authority. Is that what they're saying? I don't know. So the full sentence to begin with: in the wake of 2 world wars, thereafter literally millions of men died, did the politicians that were looking for an edge to a majority start to exclusively pander to ladies? Are you asking us, did they, or are you saying that they didn't, or what? There's no question mark either. Not sure, but I think that's kind of where they're going. But this person is like, oh, excessively, oh, woe is men, and women are getting away with too much. And you see the let's pretend to be feminists crowd out there, not bonky, that's generally a feminist from what I can see, but the hateful crowd of all men are monsters, they're going, oh, woe is women, men are victimized us all the time. No, we could need this. You can't keep doing that. That's the problem. And that's focusing too much on the problem with no solution. The solution is equal rights, not pretend to have equal rights and then crushing what you see as an opposition. We've got to stop this idea that men and women should be in competition with each other. It's stupid, it's backward, really primitive, and does nothing for anyone. The Democrats in particular, they were more than eager to get people into its party by any means. Democrats, every party there wants, I guess, they want people to get into their party to support them. What are you saying? The Democrats felt like there wasn't enough men in the party or that were interested enough, so they appealed to women more on a political scale. Is that a thing? Was that it? Don't know. It was an effective strategy. So encouraging people to join a party. They don't elaborate how they did it or what was involved. And we could look at history and see how they were after war, how the Democratic Party was trying to encourage people. So this is an American. They do Democrats, Republicans. In the UK, you've got Liberal Democrats, but they're definitely American for a number of reasons. Yeah, they're talking about this last comment makes me think they're probably from Detroit, in a very poverty-stricken area, and they experienced a lot of issues. And they talk about the school to prison pipeline. Horrifying statement, but that's you only come up with terms and terminology like that when you're living in such a poverty-stricken area that your schooling, if it fails, you could probably just go through school and end up in prison anyway. You know, this is poverty breeds crime. Yeah, so it's difficult to know what they're talking about really specifically. But this was an effective strategy. However, whatever they did, the strategy to get people to join the Democrat Party, and they go on again about what there. It seems to be an imaginary imbalance. You got 10 from between 10, depending on what time, what year it was, what day it was, between 10 to 20 less people to 100 less men to 100 women. So you got 100, and you're going to get men down here somewhere after war. Not a great amount, actually, on the grand scheme of things, because if you look at the baby boom, really, in the later years, once things really settled down. But they go on about until the population started to even back out, even with the fast die-off of men. I guess there'd be people who survived the war, but they're still wounded, but they died early anyway. We're talking about those who lose the right to vote via criminality and earlier death. Yeah, there we go. So they keep going on about there was less men than there were women, and women being encouraged to do things because we required them. And I think they miss. It's a big. It's not really how things went. Sure, women were being encouraged. The social constructs change a lot after World War II, with the realization that look, women are very useful for progress, protection, and so on. And it changed a lot of ideas here and there, and it was still very one-sided, even after all that effort, right? The preset women majority voting bloc is not enough. And it's not like men are causing this restriction. It's not like women are causing this restriction. A very good point was made during the debate hub, the video. It's like we're so bred into these things, these social constructs, we don't know we're doing it. And it's a problem, and we need to raise awareness on the problem, because you raise one more first step in solving a problem is realizing there is one and raise awareness of it, and then focus on solutions and equal rights and so on. This is what they additionally focus on any. This is why they additionally focus on any POC. Your terminology, not mine. POC be protection of citizens, I guess, was referred to. But I don't understand what their point is, other than they're going, oh, woe is men, that they were so hard done by. No. The very trouble with anything that the Democrats have with Britain legislation is that it always needs a target. Well, if there's a problem within a body of information that dictates how we do things, rules and regulation, or what we expect of each other, then that needs to be your target to change. So are you trying to say that Democrats didn't like to have targets, didn't like to look like they were targeting anything? I don't understand what they were saying here. I'm pretty dumb when it comes to these things, and this is probably above my brain pan. I'm going to try this anyway. So, they say that. So, the men who were numerically in the minority, numerically less of them men, not any particular race. Word minority here could be used as minority races, but this is not what they're saying. They're saying just men in general. So the men who were numerically in the minority in the voting population, but the majority of those in prominent positions. So there were more men in prominent positions, but there were less men in general. There were more men in prominent positions than there were women, which leads back to the first of it. You say, oh, they're pandering to ladies, pandering to women. And pandering is a weird word to use. I think appealing to women, I would say, to bring them into positions of authority and get things going. But the ratio isn't. If you look at what women did and what men did, sure, the ratio is going to be less men than women in terms of death. But it's not a massive on the grand scheme of things, really. And it's unfortunate that they had to die, and let's not dismiss that. It's crucial that they be remembered. So, the men, numerically minority in the voting population, but the majority of those in prominent positions, are they saying that they needed... I think it was 1928 that women across the board had an equal voting right in the UK. 19th Amendment, the United States, was 1920 amendment mandating women's suffrage. We had a right to vote. UK, and you talked about that a little bit, that these pretend to be feminists want to remove that right. It's just not feminism. It's just very... I don't know why they're even using the title. They don't know what feminism is. Bonky knows what feminism is, and is clearly an advocate of it, equal rights. The 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution prohibits the United States and its states from denying the right to vote to citizens of the United States on the basis of sex, in effect recognizing the right of women to vote. Yeah, great. That was... and yeah. So I don't know what it's bizarre, whatever they're trying to say. I don't really know. Let's go back to that. They went full steam ahead. So the men who were numerically in lesser amounts, minority, in the voting population, but they were also majority in prominent positions, those went full steam ahead, is what my interpretation is. The ones that went full steam ahead were the ones of those men in those prominent positions. The 98% were not robber barons, bankers, lawyers, judges, senators. The rest of them were damned. This person must be experiencing a very hard done by life experience and maybe poverty stricken and don't see opportunities. I mean, if you've got a regular job that you don't need to jump up in higher positions anyway, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Again, we have this slammed into our brains, like you compete, you raise up, you achieve, and so on. To me, if you're earning enough money, that's achievement enough. Because I work so I can live, not live so I can work my ass off. It's not an achievement if you're earning a copious amount of money, but no time to enjoy it. Right? And I don't earn enough money to enjoy some of the things I would want to enjoy much more often anyway. Today I'm normally out and about. I was out and about day before yesterday. Anyway, I got this week off. Seeing a friend. So, but because I spent X amount on the day I was out, I'm not popping out today. It would be lovely not to have to think about that. Just go, yeah, just money flowing, easy come, easy go, right? And we'd all love that. And if I reach that position of finance, I'm not going to get lazy. I would look for challenges, like new challenges. You know, the current challenges for most people you meet is like, how much money are we going to earn so we can have some time to do some of the things we enjoy? And then put food on the table and pay your bills as well before you even consider enjoying those things. You know? And, you know, it's criminal. It's 2025 and society. When I was at school, I was thinking like, oh, 2012, we're going to be so advanced by then. When I was a kid at school, thinking about the future. And I didn't see a future where we just had to keep working the way we do, trying to make ends meet. But greed and ideas of competition where there shouldn't be competition, competition between sexes where there shouldn't be as well. It just gets, these are multiple stumbling blocks that are in our way of the progress that we could have had. It's going to be a bizarre year. Well, things get even more polarized. It's going to be some amazing advances in technology. And I might do some videos about those in my other channel, Exploratory Minds Coming Back. But there's going to be some really disgusting, backward stupidity going on as well. And Donald Trump, looking at him, he's pissed off multiple world leaders and people in positions of authority all over the globe before he's even president yet. He gets sworn in, what is today's date? 16th? I think he gets, is it the 20th he gets sworn in? Correct me if I'm wrong, whatever date he goes in. So, they went steam ahead. 98% were not robbers. Who were not robber barons, bankers, lawyers, judges, senators, be damned. Those who were not able to be in those positions of authority, those 98%, you're all damned. You didn't have no chance whatsoever. Every single one of you. Don't know. I mean, a lot depends on how much you are a product of your environment in restrictive ways versus a product of your environment that benefits you, and what you're going to do about it. Every working Joe who tried to Rosa Parks speak out, every working Joe who tried to speak out like Rosa Parks did, an activist against racism. This is why this is not racist, by the way. speak out about being in the back of the bus was thrown off or under the bus, metaphorically, I guess. So this is why I'm not seeing racism here. I'm seeing the opposite, anti-racism. To the point that not even union workers would in mass support the front-running, pre-approved, pre-elected candidate that no one actually got to vote for. Sure, there's things that happened in the UK. It was like when we had Theresa May as Prime Minister. She's a wet flannel, and we didn't appoint them anyway. We didn't vote for them. They were just pathetic and useless in multiple ways. But also, I don't think that condoned the infighting in the political parties and the bullying that was targeted at her either. She just wasn't fit for the job. That's going back a bit now. They had Rishi Sunak as a complete idiot, a billionaire, being Prime Minister of the UK. If I was a billionaire, I wouldn't want to be Prime Minister. I certainly look after my roots and look after poverty-stricken areas, because, all those areas are not so much poverty-stricken, but they still have to count the penny. They still have to watch the money in case they get too poverty-stricken. Yeah. And these people are so indoctrinated into their own tiny bubble, their world. These people in higher positions, they have no idea what is going on planet Earth from one moment to another, comparatively to their so rich lifestyle. Rishi Sunak, a Prime Minister that was in the UK, part of the Conservative Party, got rid of him by voting out Conservative. Unfortunately, Conservative Party on the losing side of the seat still have the majority of the losing side, so it's not the victory we was looking for. But he didn't even know how to pay for fuel for his own car, because it was done for him. And he wasn't even driving the car, he was just being ferried around. Yeah, it's just bizarre, and the number of things that they're doing to deport people to Northern Ireland and this and that. It's just bizarre. It's crazy. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. And I usually see far older than me generation tend to be conservative for whatever reason. I can't fathom it. But also, you find out they're older and a lot richer. They're older, and there's kind of some snobism going on there. It's like rub your face in it. That needs to stop. The snobbery in the UK needs to stop. It needs to be nipped in the bud. Yeah, I'll do a separate video on that. That's a whole tangent. What else this person is saying? Let's have a look. So every working Joe, every hard-working person who tried to Rosa Parks try to speak up against racism, really, because that's what Rosa Parks was doing, about being put in the back on the bus, was thrown off or under the bus. So I see quite the opposite going on here. Why this is racist, I don't understand. To the point that not even union workers would in mass support the front line of pre-approved, pre-selected candidate that no one actually got to vote for. Yeah, like I said, it happens in the UK sometimes. We vote for a party in the UK, not the individual, and the emphasis is on the individual in American politics, which I think is very backward. But You vote for the party because we're informed of what the party is typical of and what they want to do politically and a budget to follow and so on. And then we learn who's the head of the party before they get voted in, and anyway, so we know who's going to be appointed if that party wins. But the emphasis is on the party and its politics, and not the individual, not the leader. You can have many people talking about what the party is going to be doing in interviews across news channels and so on. And it doesn't have to be the head of that party talking about that. Yeah. And sure, an emphasis will be talking about the head of the party as well. That'll be one of the things. And I think that's one of the problems in American politics is it's too much of a popularity contest versus actual politics, and then you get narcissistic dumb fucks in position of President of America. Is now you got a convicted rapist, among other convictions, about to be President of America. It makes me want to vomit. It's gross, disgusting, and how they brainwash Americans excessively to run around with a flag and say, "This is America, we're liberal and amazing, there's nowhere as good as America." I mean, many Americans communicating with, any American communicating with asked, "Do you feel happy with the country?" They're ashamed. Majority, the smartest Americans that come across, some in person. There's an American couple in the UK, lovely couple. They came over here because they were sick and tired of the downfall that is being encouraged in favour of greed and corporate control, really, is what they were saying. And I think they're completely right. I mean, it could be argued against, I guess, but corporations, I think, run America. America doesn't run America. Corporative self-interest runs America. And influence of religiosity driving things back into the dark ages. Ban abortions, for instance. And one of them. So appointments by category versus talent have been going on for so long that school kids are graduating without being able to read. There's a problem emerging in the UK now. Is kids are not that adept at reading, but they're beginning to try and change it because they're running around with all the time, and that seems to be like a older generation typical excuse thing to say, but it's part of the problem. It should age restrict a mobile phone to 18 years plus, although you could say that's detrimental in today's world because a kid needs to stay in touch on their way commuting and back to school. Sure, they'll give them not a smartphone, but a phone that is basic enough to text and phone. That's all it is. Those phones still exist. And they are still made. Retro, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. It's like that so-called social media being addictive, particularly in young minds, is now more of a realization of that, but it's too late. The damage is done. The realization was there from the get-go, from the big corporative interest, but they didn't care. They wanted as many people on board as they can, and that's the American way. The American way is we need people consuming and entertained as much as possible. Facts don't matter, consequences don't matter. We just need the money coming in, and we'll be king. Entrepreneur. That's the. Oh God, for fuck's sake, it makes me sick. Really, and moving forward with this, anyway, this weird comment, yeah. So, school kids are graduating without being able to read. Males are drugged into submission with medication or go into the school to prison pipeline. I don't know what every state in America is, how they're failing with the schools. The schools in the UK they get government funding as well as the county. They help out here and there as well. Schools in the United States don't get any government funding. It's funded by the state, which I think is awful and gross and backward and part of the problem of the education system falling apart. But I did see that's amazing. It's like a big, huge leap ahead for America to have schools talking about how to debate. Really, that was talked about by Bonky in this feminist thing, and I thought, wow, really? I mean, I'm assuming that was going on in America. So it is. And what do you got in the description here as well of the video? 2025 is about to be massive dumpster fire. I think in many ways, yes. In many other ways, no. It's going to be very polarized. It's going to be mind-blowingly to one extreme to another with certain things. It would be such fantastic news on breakthroughs, and there'll be such detrimental garbage going on with other things. People are losing out. Unfortunately, with one of the leading nations in the world electing a convicted rapist to the highest position of power, people talk about that though as like President of America, most powerful person in the world. No, they're not. I don't see them as they still have too much power, I think. But things like tariffs, for instance, and many, no one's above the law apparently, but you begin to wonder. But also tariffs. A president can imply a tariff, but only Congress can apply tariff. But is he going to be allowed to go, oh, you're fired, you're not doing what I want, I'm going to appoint somebody else and just poison everything, just surround him with self of yes people? He's pissed off so many people globally that before he's even president, and Canada going to prepared to go to extreme measures to block this tariff war if he goes ahead with any of that. And I think for the most part he will do nothing. He fantasizes, but he doesn't know how to apply. He fantasizes this and that, and some of them are horrifying, horrific ideas coming from a man who's very senile, actually. The way he talks as well is that it was always lacking in detail, so his higher functioning brain isn't working to inject detail anyway, as well as him not wanting to. Anyway, it's a double-edged sword. And then you look at his diet, fast food, what sort of breakfast, dinner, tea. It's just all fast food. Yeah. McDonald's and all this. People have said it's because he's germaphobe, and he's learnt that a McDonald's doesn't break down too quick. So if it's that kind of clean and nothing wants to touch it, it'd be safe for his body. It's quite the opposite, actually. If nature can't break it down, your gut bacteria are going to have trouble with this. A number of health issues that he's just absurdly. He's obese. His health, and you look at the information about people saying he actually stinks, body odor, and among other things, blowing off and farting in court, falling asleep in court during the trials as well. And I just think, wow, this is This is who you point to a country where you're just excessively brainwashed into ranting and chanting about USA, USA. Like you're the best going. Just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Yeah. Huh. After all this rant, anyway, I should try and finish this. Because I have a dry throat, all this talking. That's orange juice, real nice. So, where was I? Candidate males appointments by category versus talent have been going on for so long that school kids are graduating without being able to read. The males are drugged into submission with medication or go into school to prison pipeline. Now, if that's going on, there's school kids, there's girls and boys in a school, but the males are drugged. It's obviously wrong. There's something needs to be done about that. Why are they being drugged? Is ADHD? Drug medication? Is this person a person with ADHD as well? Did they experience it and they were given drugs to slow them down? Whatever. They didn't do that to me at school, and yeah, I guess there would be something that they would try to give a test. These days, if I was a young lad at school, to discern what was actually going on with me, or maybe the problem, yeah, definitely still is. Regardless of that, I had two other close friends, the three of us. We didn't really belong in many of the classes. We didn't know what to do with us. They put us in slower classes, and we did all right. But we weren't unruly either. We struggled here and there. Brilliant teacher, my English teacher. There was one time it was coming up around Halloween, so he had everyone write a spooky story. And this story I was writing, it just went on and on. I didn't know, my brain just didn't know to come up with a ending. I was trying to think, how to wrap it up. So it led me behind a bit. The rest of the class moved on. But she could see I was passionate about trying to get this done. And she worked with me to get it done. Then read the whole story to the rest of the class. And she gave me an A+ for it because, yeah, and I was never like a teacher's pet. There's sometimes there was things I've done. It's like that you need to work harder in this or that. There's to pay attention and so on. But again, it wasn't so much my attention. It's hard to describe. Answers to questions would come out, and I would be thinking, yeah, but what's the deeper implications of that, or this and that? How would that work in a different situation? Would the answer, and still come out with like the same answer, but it'd be more valid or something or other, And I'd be thinking along these lines of tangent while the class is moving on, so I'd be like this, catching up. This is me, there's a class moving on, and I'd be like this. And so would my other friend, my friend, kind of similar, the way he was processing information and wanted more depth, questions, and digging in. But the class have dug in by the next level of subject or question and things to move on with, and it just all felt too shallow. So, the school to prison pipeline is a problem in Detroit, or has been. Whether it's been fixed or not, I don't know. I'll put links below This I had that website somewhere. Detroit. School to prison pipeline Detroit. So this relates to more of an American issue than anybody else's. Can we stop having America leaking into other countries? We don't want your shit. Just fix your shit before you interfere with other people's. DSTOP. DSTOPP. Dismantling the school to prison pipeline in Detroit. So there's a whole website there about that and what they're trying to do. There's a link to other sites from it. Urban Learning and Leadership Collaborative of Detroit's Hope Village. Just reading off the page. There's a number of things on the page to look at. This is an effort to solve problems rather than just focus on the problem. I try to focus on solving what this person's talking about or the message they're actually trying to get across. And I think it just equals, oh, men are so hard done by, and you women want this and that. It's not fair. And they're missing the point entirely. Going back with the same old, oh, it's competition. No. Bonky is an advocate of equal rights. That's very clear and become very clear the more you look at the video. If there's anything that it's saying that feels like it's too one-sided, then it needs to be addressed. And I think they will say, oh yeah, if it legitimately is too one-sided, they're the type of person who will say, oh yeah, because they recognize how we're bred into this problem. It's not like men created it or women created it. We're both supporting something and we don't even know what that we're supporting. We're supporting the problem of competition here. It really needs to end. So, to recap, appointments by category versus talent have been going on for so long that school kids are graduating without being able to read. And there's a big problem if you're going to graduate anyone and they can't even read. That's not a standard. Standards, from what the rest of the world is seeing, standards seem to be just a title in America. You say, oh, we do it this way and nothing gets done. That standard is not maintained or applied. I mean, look, you got a rapist as a president coming in. It's gross. The males are drugged into submission with medication or go into the school to prison pipeline. That's not a bug, it's a feature. Oh, better to create a new slave second class. Am I right? Well, sure, I've been saying for years that the average American is a slave. You know what? The smart Americans are communicating with online and Americans I've met in person actually agree with me. Because as long as you can be dumbed down, brainwashed to be addicted to the consumerism and entertainment, nothing else matters. You need to be a slave to bring the money in. And you haven't got enough money, well, go and get another job then. You know, and it's vile. You're not given health care. Obviously, that's talked about a lot. But you're not even given maternity leave. You're typically not given pensions. Or every company I've worked for is like, oh, there's a pension that comes with this as well. But yeah, I've worked for different companies all over, and I get letters through what the pension things are from different companies I work for. I think there's a way to collaborate them all into one. I need to look into that soon. I have more paperwork, but it's doable, I guess. Appointments by category. Yeah, I read that bit. When it comes to policy, and application of your warped idea of equality. They saw the word feminist and had a knee-jerk response, I guess. I can't blame them with all the vitriol of these pretend to be feminists, and Bongi is not one of them. These all men are monsters. Let's crush them. Yeah, the Amber Heard fans, the Amber Heard crowd, Elaine Bredenhoff, disgusting, vile bunch. They looked at a man cup half full, and your own half full, then got Daddy G government to point the gun at the guy to pour his into yours while Daddy G took a swig. It's a very, very pathetic way to end a rant like this. I think it just doesn't come with it's like the nebulous there got too much control, therefore I'm penalised. And now we got activism of equal rights from feminists, which is penalising us even more. That's his attitude. That's not what I'm saying. You go for it, Bonky. Go ahead. I support you. And why not? Why wouldn't I? Because you're an equal rights activist. You're not women's rights, not men's. You're equal rights activists. So they looked at a man cup half full, nearly empty, but yeah. Don't know. Trying to understand this, trying to get around it. And your cup, your own half full. Daddy government, so you got the government to intervene, taking each other's citizens half full for themselves, I guess. This person feels excessively penalised. Chances are, educated guess, I don't know who they are, but they might be a middle-aged man who's of colour. And lived in a very poverty-stricken area. Probably Detroit, because it's a Detroit thing. The terminology, you come up with that terminology, the school to prison pipeline, then you know there's a big problem. You don't come up with that without being a product of the environment that causes you to speak that way. And yeah, I'll put the links below. Thanks for watching. This is the best I can do with this. I don't know really what they're saying other than what we concluded here. They could be saying something else actually, but it's just very open-ended. It's not tied up. There's no conclusion here. It's just like focusing on the problem. It's like listening to Jordan Peterson. There's no conclusion. There's no solution. There's always just a bunch of words. And Jordan Peterson, I used to think, yeah, he had some good points some years back, and makes sense. But he just got worse and worse and worse, excessively, and it just got more and more derailed. And I think, exponentially, I think it just got so worse. And I thought, what the fuck am I listening to? Where's the solution? You're going to come up with anything? So much so that I can't even remember now what it was that enticed me to listen to him in the first place. That made me think he's got a good theory for a solution or whatever. And he doesn't. He never does. And he thinks, people like him think they're like the entrepreneurs, like, they're not doing anything. They're just sitting on their ass, speaking a lot of words, trying to sound intellectual, stroking their ego. It reminds me of Steve McRae. Oh, you can't join me on my intellectual hill because you're not intellectually in shape enough to join me on the hill. Well, you're not on the hill. You're bottom of the Murray in a trench right now. So It turned out well for you. If this person is being racist, fuck this guy, and I missed the point entirely. Went straight over my head. My apologies for that. If they're not, and if this is, if I've done anything of worth of value here, great. If I haven't, at least I've used some of my thinking skills to try and understand this, because it's just a weird comment. It doesn't. Chacho posted it in Discord and said, "Can someone decipher this for me?" So, thanks anyway. Take care. Bye.